Thank you for joining us for Small Talks for Big Change, where we help simplify financial topics to help with your financial wellness. Happy New Year, everyone, and thanks for tuning in with us today. Hopefully you joined us last episode where we kicked off the year with a talk about financial health and getting the new year started on a positive note. Today we're going to follow that up, and we have resident financial well-being experts in the studio to help us navigate resources to help us get where we want to go, financially speaking. And I'm so excited to welcome Jessica Rubalcava and Lauren Goucher today. Thanks for being here with us today, ladies.
Oh, of course. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm very honored to be here today.
I can't wait for everyone to get to know you guys because you guys are such a wealth of information and have so many years here at Patelco supporting our members with their financial wellness. We're going to start with Jessica. You are on the member experience and financial well-being team here at Patelco, and you've got a ton of financial services experience. I think you just said 24 years here at Patelco. Tell us a little bit about your career.
Well, thank you, Michelle. Again, like I said, I'm honored to be here today, and I'm going to share a little bit of my story. And yes, 24 years ago, I started here at Patelco.
Blissful years, right? 24 blissful years?
24, yes. But they feel like just a few years. So, but honestly, I'd love to share my story, how I joined Patelco and why I chose Patelco. I originally was working for a retail store and in my earlier age and met a regional director who worked here for Patelco. I quickly gained a rapport with her when she came into the clothing store where I worked. I love fashion. I still do. And I enjoy helping women basically find that special outfit that they need for any occasion, even if it was just basics. My goal was to help them feel comfortable, confident all day in whatever casual or workwear that they were wearing. So a little bit about me in the fashion world. But during that time, I remember that I was struggling, part-time student also, unsure where my future was going to lead me, right? I was working full-time to help my mom, who had become a single mom, and she needed support for my two younger brothers. And she had spent most of her marriage balancing being a housewife and a mom to actually 5 children. So I knew I needed to quickly break the cycle, take control of my own personal finances to really help my mom, and because we didn't have a permanent resident at that time. So I needed to help her and my younger brothers find that permanent housing where we were going to make it feel like home. Mm-hmm. So immediately I said, I need to find a career. So I enrolled in multiple classes, volunteered at many hospitals and senior living facilities, thinking that I needed to familiarize myself with the healthcare because I loved helping people. I mean, I love fashion, but I loved helping people at the same time. So maybe I thought, maybe I need to become a registered nurse. That was my ideal career. So I enrolled in multiple classes and volunteered at many hospitals and senior living facilities because I felt like I needed to get familiar with the healthcare environment. I was always drawn to helping people and making them feel better about their situation, which has always brought me gratitude.
Yeah.
So now, when it comes to joining Patelco, I joined in 2001. And I was given a chance by that amazing regional director that I mentioned earlier that I met at the retail store I worked at, who later, she became my mentor. I felt how genuine she was and how I became drawn to learn about the financial world. So I quickly adopted and connected to every part of my life, from housing and access to food, to transportation, education, and my healthcare. It became my mission then to achieve my own financial goals, which was incredibly rewarding as an employee here at Patelco. I quickly saw the positive impact that our products and services had on people's lives, including my own. It was just fulfilling to see and to feel. So helping others manage their finances better became a source of my personal satisfaction for me. I focus on my professional growth because Patelco invested in me, creating a supportive and positive work environment was my inspiration to continue to develop my own leadership skills and commitment to continuously learning to help others meet their higher standards while meeting members' needs. So I quickly became a leader. I started as an assistant manager and then worked my way up to a branch manager in many of the East Bay Inland branches. So in my last 3 years, with all my experience that I've had with mentoring and coaching team members and managing branches, I've embarked a new journey with the member experience side. Here, my passion continues as our department gets to be a part of the many creative processes in developing the financial products and services. So this has been super exciting and fulfilling for me now, embarking in this new journey. It has been an honor to foster a sense of connection and purpose by serving our local communities. I feel so proud to be a part of an organization that prioritizes financial education and support. And yes, you can call me a raving fan who has found her passion. My connection to financial well-being has been very meaningful and rewarding throughout my entire career here at Patelco. So I continue to be here for many, many more years to come.
Love that. Love that you spent so many years serving members in the branch, and now you've kind of taken it back office. And I've been in a ton of meetings with you both, and I explain it this way. Your department just ensures that everything that we do here in Patelco is viewed through a financial wellness lens. You're able to take all those personal experiences and all those branch experiences and bring it to the back office, where not everybody gets to have as much of that experience and exposure to day-to-day members. So thank you for sharing all that. Lauren, tell us a little bit about some of your experience.
Of course. So I actually got my start at one of those bigger banks, and it was eye-opening for me. For me, it was my first big girl job after all the Hollywood videos shut down, and I was desperately trying to find something to make money, and lo and behold, this institution opened their doors to me. But, I quickly realized the difference between a not-for-profit organization and a for-profit organization. And as the chips began to fall, I really started realizing that it wasn't fitting my morals and how I would like to help people. As you can tell, both Jessica and I, and this institution overall, is very passionate about helping people, and I felt like that was taken away. Just to give some background, it was 2008, and we all know what was going on, and the emotional stress, the hardships, the financial stress that was befalling anyone and everyone in between. And I noticed that rather than us stepping up and really trying to help our customers, but they needed that financial well-being at that time, we gave pushback because we weren't profiting from that. They weren't so much about financial literacy, but more so about getting the sales. So there were aggressive sales goals that continued to increase, and I just saw a gap and a need. One of the stories I always tell, which really brought light to just how different these organizations act, was I noticed a elderly couple who lost their home, and this could have been avoided, but due to lack of communication, lack of following up, they lost their house, and all the while they were coming in, seeing us, and we were desperately trying to make those connections. And at that time, it truly hurt my heart. I started considering making a change. And at that time, I was also banking at a credit union. My first credit union was at a institution called Diablo Valley Credit Union. And every time I walked in, they treated me like a family. It wasn't about the product sales or trying to get something from me. It was more about getting me to that next milestone. And so you can already see the differences. And so that led me to apply and then be employed with Patelco Credit Union in 2012. And I must say, it was just, again, eye-opening to see the difference. I remember walking in and saying it's not about the product sales, it's all about the member and growing them financially. So there was a huge centralized focus on financial well-being, and I knew that I met my best fit. And so fast forward, I was able to go through the ranks, I guess you could say. I started as a teller and moved up all the way to my last destination was assistant manager of a branch. And I had the pleasure of working with this lovely lady here as well. And she inspired me to be even more passionate in advocating and helping for others. And so this led me to member experience where I can take that to another level. And as she stated, we get to be at the beginning of the products and services. We get to share our ideas, and with our experience of being in a branch, we can kind of speak and be the voice of the member. And so I am all about Patelco's mission. I am all about what we have to offer and just the services that our members can take advantage of to help them build up without anything in return. And that is just so rewarding to me, and that feels really, really good. And so it's just been a really great experience for over 13 years.
Amazing, amazing. So over 50 years experience between the two of you. Wow. And you mentioned Hollywood video, and I'm feeling a little bit old with that reference.
I know.
Not old, just wise. Right, guys?
There
just
we go.
Wise.
Knowledgeable.
Yes.
So you both have helped so many members in all of that time with their financial goals, and that's really the theme of the episode today. Again, we kicked off the year, New Year's resolutions, what is financial health? And today we're going to give our audience just some little tangible things to take away to be able to try and achieve that. We talk a lot on the show about financial health, and Jen Meek helped us break down the 4 pillars of financial health as the industry defines it. And those are spend, save, borrow, and plan. So we'd love for you guys to just share some resources and tips in those buckets. So Jess, hoping we can start off with you. What can you share? The first pillar is spend. What can you share in that pillar that can support us with our financial health?
Yes, thank you, Michelle. This topic is actually really close to the heart personally for me. I'm going to go back to my story and lead how I began my story with spending. I saw my own mother struggle with her own spending. She couldn't budget, especially when she separated from my father. So later, I also witnessed the daily struggles that our own members faced.
Yeah.
When I worked in the branches, every scenario was different. Every situation was different. But with all the resources Patelco has to offer, I would totally encourage all our members to create, for example, a budget. That helped me. So to create a budget to spend less than what their incoming income was, so that they can allocate funds for the necessity, allocate timely paid payments, and most importantly, building that cushion for like the unexpected expenses. Mm-hmm. I saw how this ultimately, when I assisted members doing this, ultimately I saw how it reduced financial stress and it provided a peace of mind for them. So I'm going to be very honest here. About 8 years ago, I myself experienced a major financial shock. So when my husband and I separated, I had to quickly pivot and put everything I knew about spending, budgeting to the test. Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, it's so much easier to talk about it, guide, provide the resources than to actually do it. Mm-hmm. So it took a lot of time and effort to track my own spending and to stay on budget. I mean, I felt overwhelmed. I needed all the help I could get. And I do remember I bought a brand new notebook and I said, I'm jotting everything down. And I went onto our online services and I remembered what can help remind me about all these important alerts. And I remembered, oh my gosh, our online banking, we have these alerts available to help our members, just like myself, keep track of my balances weekly. You can opt to have it text or sent to you via email. And I have to tell you, that was my savior. It was telling me when transactions were being posted. It was telling me when my payments were being paid on time. I was able to customize it to my budgeting needs to help me realize my weekly spending. So all of this helped me stay motivated. I was being disciplined, and it filled me with hope, because those were the type of resources that I would help my members, encourage them to sign up for.
Yeah.
I became a single mom of 2 boys, and I needed the reminders, and it was overwhelming. I also had to cut so many extra expenses out.
So hard.
Oh, like buying lunch. I had to make my own lunch every day. I had to pack my own lunch. Couldn't go buy lunch on my break. I learned to do my own manicures and pedicures at home. If it wasn't a necessity, an item that I needed in my household, then it wasn't going to be purchased.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned to shop my cabinets first,
Oh,
and then the freezer
that's a good one.
before making a grocery list.
Yes.
And what I learned from my own experience from helping many, many members was that all of these resources and tools that we have available for our members really helps embrace your life's ups and downs. We even have podcasts, additional other videos that I've learned from them as well, educational on our website resources from other partners that we partner up with. But Patelco has so many products and services designed to
Really do.
support our financial journeys. So from the self-serve tools to free resources that can help you with everyday expenses, even food. I personally explored all the available options under our financial wellness area in our online banking, which offers the incredible insights that I recommend everyone should explore and visit this area, just to help them take a look at their own financial life and really see, are they planning wisely?
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone may have an unforeseen event. And just like I had that shock. I thought my marriage would last forever.
Yeah. We do a lot of community presentations, and when we talk about the spend pillar in the financial health category, assessing needs and wants is a huge part of even beginning to start a budget. So I'm glad you brought that up. Thanks for sharing. Lauren, saving money is on a lot of people's priority list for the new year. Jen Mink in the last episode talked about the top 3 New Year's resolutions, and savings one of them. I kind of feel like savings is always on
Yes.
everyone's New Year resolution list. What are your recommendations for members in thinking about their financial health and trying to achieve their savings goals? What would you tell our members?
Of course, of course. Yes, I do agree that having a sufficient liquid savings and the ability to meet long-term financial goals is extremely important when it comes to financial health. But I get it. Rates are high, costs are high. It's incredibly hard to save. Me personally, I just bought a house a year ago when, it's a success, but it was probably not the best time because that's when rates were at its highest. That's when the housing costs were at its highest. But we had to make the decision of paying equal amount of rent each month versus a mortgage payment and having that increase versus decreasing with a mortgage. And so we hopped right in, but reality has set in a year later. This resulted in us, of course, depleting our savings with the down payment, having extra expenses such as utilities and just furnishing a home that is bigger than an 800 square foot apartment.
Totally.
All things that were not considered, of course. It was all the honeymoon stage and the excitement of moving in. But I would say that the biggest thing to consider is the fact that there's small steps that you can take that make a world of difference in the long run. And so I know when we think we're all in, right, it's 0 to 100, but really it's the ripple effects that cause the best success. And so one of the things that I had done in the past with a member who was having a really hard time, they were young, and both she and her husband, I don't know why they decided, but they opened up separate businesses at the exact same time. One was a photography business and one was a psychiatry business. And so you can tell they are businesses that aren't going to be moneymakers right up front. And so they did struggle for quite some time. I lent an open ear to her and kind of heard the stress, the weight on her shoulders. I offered just a simple suggestion. I said, why don't you just transfer $5 into your savings account every time you get a paycheck, because we know that that's few and far between, but $5, right? I even made the joke, it's a Jack in the Box meal, 2 tacos and a chicken sandwich. And she liked that idea. And I think the comfort, again, drawing back to liquid savings, is if she needed it and she was very much struggling, then she could access it. But it's that motivation to just start the process. And further down the line, she didn't touch it. This equated to her being able to purchase a car, because at that time they were sharing one car and starting these businesses. They were living at her parents' house, and this allowed them to get a down payment to move into their own apartment. They were able to build their book of business because they didn't have that stress of having to live paycheck to paycheck and not having anything. And so, yes, that is incredibly important. But I also think that assessing your current savings, right? So I know we offer a whole lot of liquid savings. And so one of the products that I had put her in is a money market account. And I know that title seems scary to people, but it really is just a regular savings account that offers a higher interest rate. And we have different ones. And so to explain that this is exactly like the savings account you're currently using, but with a high interest, so you get more free money from us, it made her more inclined and more motivated to save, and she became addicted to it. And so that was a really big success and really rewarding. But I myself am in that boat now. So I have to personally start thinking of how I can build a savings myself. And so one of the things that I opted into was a roundup program. It is something that I'm familiar with banking institutions in the past, but this one is by far the best. So just to give a little background on that, anytime you use your debit card, it'll round to the nearest dollar, and that extra change is automatically transferred to your savings account. And you can actually add boosters. So 3 times the savings, 2 times the savings, 1 time the savings. And so I just think that that's really in line with our focus and priority of financial well-being. And so I opted into it because I always like to practice what we're providing members. And I've found that without me even thinking about it, because I'm a regular debit card user, I was able to save in quite a bit of time. And so again, these small little bits count to a big amount of money. Also, Jessica touched on it, but budgeting is very important. If I have little to no self-control when it comes to spending. Everyone who's spoken to me knows this about me, that I give advice, but I don't really follow it until I actually bought a house. And this was when real life set in. I didn't have that extra money to kick in. And so I needed to have a hard slap in the face of reality. And one of the things that did so was through our financial insights service through online banking. And this is just a service that categorizes every transaction in your bank account and puts them in certain categories. So it could be restaurants, gas, groceries. And I already knew, but didn't know the extent of how much my husband and I love to go out and eat dinner. If I can DoorDash, if I can Uber Eats, I mean, I have them all. If I can go to a restaurant, I will do it. And I love to cook. I just don't want the time to do it. And so I won't even go over the number that showed on Financial Insights, but my jaw dropped. And so I realized that I was leaning more on wants versus needs. And so I sat my husband down and I said, we're overspending. And if we have all these heightened expenses, this is truly where we can make the biggest difference. So we agreed that rather than going out 4 times a month or 4 times a week rather, we would take it to 1 time a month. And we also put a cap on that, which is $100 per month. And so anytime we reach 100, get the check, go out. And that's worked very well because all that extra money, which was about, I'll say it was about $500 to $700 a month, now goes into our savings account. And so that helped our savings grow as well. I know other people, just to kind of go off, is they also execute an envelope method. This is where they can put certain amounts of cash in envelopes for each category of their expenses. So they have an envelope for gas, for groceries, for recreation, things like that. And once the money runs out, they know they've maxed that budget and they can't spend any more. I spend cash like money, so that doesn't work for me, but I found that financial health has been an excellent resource and an eye-opener for me as well.
Awesome. So sounds like lots of different methods. Just got to find the method that works for you.
Bingo, exactly.
And I love the fact that we mentioned Jack in the Box tacos on the episode. I know
good.
Summer's excited about that too. All right, Jessica, borrowing is the third financial pillar, which is surprising to some people. It's kind of one of those necessary evils. But talk to us about debt and how we can, if we are struggling to either manage debt or are planning to take on debt in the new year, how do we manage it to achieve financial health?
Oh gosh, borrowing really is a necessary evil. I must agree. Well, I'm going to take it on a personal level and the experience that I've had with members as well. But personally, as I mentioned earlier, my household went down from 2 incomes to 1 income. So I quickly had to increase my debt because I was still struggling with balancing, with my budgeting and spending. So that meant I quickly was utilizing my credit cards.
Yeah.
And they were quickly increasing. But to avoid maximizing each card, as I would tell my members, make sure to only utilize up to 30%. So your debt to ratio is still healthy. So I was taking my own advice and utilizing every card I had. But then eventually I was ready. I needed to consolidate because my minimum payments were becoming too much to control. So I needed to consolidate and be able to afford everything without really affecting my credit score because my credit score was really important. So eventually what I utilized was the Pure MasterCard credit card here at Patelco. That is one of our lowest card rates here, and it offers a 0% balance transfer from other credit cards. So I was ready to do that. This decision really helped me take control of my debt while continuing to control my budget. My goal was to maintain my credit. And as I mentioned, keeping those healthy behaviors to eventually refinance my home, to remove that ex-husband from the mortgage, and then consolidate some other joint debt we had in both our names. That was my goal.
Yeah.
But staying consistent in paying my bills on time helped build trust with other creditors and service providers. I always would tell members that paying your bills on time will allow you to negotiate many services. You can go negotiate for discounts. I was so proud of myself. I took my own advice that I would tell members, credit. I was so proud of that in 3 years, I must tell you it took after that separation, I was able to accomplish that goal. And what I mean by my goal is I was able to rebuild and continue rebuilding my healthy financial journey by setting the savings account goals, contributing back to my son's college fund.
Yeah, that's a biggie.
Yeah, and now having the ability to work on my home improvement projects, that previously was totally out of my budget. But sometimes we got to spend money to make money. And what I mean by that is it's the same thing when you say that about a credit score. You can't really go buy your credit score, right? Outright. You can't make it better, go buy it. But utilizing your credit wisely is such a true method for boosting your credit score over time. So I encourage everyone to monitor your credit score. And that was my go-to members all the time. Monitor it on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, whatever fits your schedule, your need. We here at Patelco have so many resources available under, the financial wellness section through our online banking. You can always view your own FICO score through our online banking app as well. Cool. Yeah, which provides many tips right there at your fingertips on the basic key factors that affect our day-to-day FICO score. And again, that 30% utilization, keeping your credit cards, don't max them out. Yeah, it was definitely a learning lesson in my own personal experience. But there's so many scenarios that I would love to discuss, but that I had with many members. But we will have to leave that for another topic in another episode.
We could talk about credit a whole another 5-episode series.
But however, I cannot express how proud I am of the many members that I personally witnessed working so hard day to day on their financial well-being. They took the guidance that we offered on a daily basis, what was available on our website, the resources and tools that we had available, such as like the Score Up loan. The Score Up loan was an amazing product that we brought out to help users build credit, to help them build their credit scores to either purchase their first car. Others had to start all over again due to life challenging events. But they took control by learning all the benefits that Patelco's membership has to offer and ultimately helping them reach their goal. Just like Lauren Goucher here. I love her story.
And really the whole borrow financial health pillar really just inspires everyone to get their credit score in the maximum position it can be in case that you do need to borrow. So that monitoring of the credit score, checking your credit score in the app, taking advantage of our resources on patelco.org to learn more about all of those components that make up your credit score. And thank you for sharing that 30% utilization tip there, because most people don't know that. I have this $1,000 credit card. I didn't know I'm only supposed to use 300 of it. But that's important in terms of the calculation of your score and the utilization percentage of calculation. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Lauren. Last financial health pillar is plan. Talk to us about this one. What do you tell people about the financial health pillar that is plan and setting yourself up for success?
Of course. So when it comes to planning, I know that it can be hard because right now it's such a fast-paced world. And so it's very hard to reflect on your future goals. But when it comes to financial health, it really is important to set up short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals for yourself, because that will keep you on track. And so I myself learned this the hard way. Much of my experiences is me learning from the hard way. And
Me too.
and so I would say that, growing up, my parents did not talk about finances. I think that's a commonality. And so I watched them go paycheck to paycheck. I was blessed enough to be put through Catholic schooling, and I just saw how much they struggled even doing that. And so I was raised to learn just credit cards are bad. Credit cards are bad. And so I was fearful of any type of finances, borrowing, anything that we're discussing today. It was just too big for me to even consider. And so, fast forward into working in a financial institution, I still didn't have the inspiration or the motivation to do anything for myself. It was just a job. And I will say it wasn't until I came to Patelco, and I'm going to try not to get emotional here, but I just happened to be talking to Jessica about my situation. I was 18 when I got my first credit card, and that's because the institution I worked for basically shoved it down my throat. And I was started with a $2,000 limit. And what happens to every young person when they get a credit card and their parents aren't there to educate them?
$2,000, max it out.
Yes, that weekend I went to the mall, and I will say that I had a $3,000 balance after that. And so also no one told me about payments. They just sign on the dotted line, here's a piece of plastic. But there was no financial literacy. And so I did not know there were due dates. I didn't know that you had to make a certain payment. I went in dark. I just knew how to spend. And so coming to Patelco, I had terrible credit. I had no savings. And it wasn't until Jessica really spent the time to invest in me as people invested in her. And she set me up for success. She created a plan where we did, a debt consolidation. She educated me on credit, and it was so endearing to just not be about the product, but about the education. And that is something that I still see, not just with Jessica, but overall in this institution. I was able to take her advice and quickly see my financial health improve. And that motivated me to then share that inspiration with others, that guidance with others. But I would say that right back then, we did not have a service that we provide today. And I'm actually kind of sad because I would have loved to have been a part of it, but it is our certified financial specialist.
Yep.
This was a huge success for Patelco. And so this is where members can actually come in. They meet with an actual person in branch who's sitting with them. They take a look at their credit reports or assess any financial need that they want, and they will create a direct step-by-step path on how to meet that goal. They'll give the member they're working with homework, if you will, and guidance on what they can do to quickly get there. But to take it a step further, they also give alerts or tracking to ensure that they're doing their part in meeting that goal. And this is a free service, but it's just so great to see this CFS, that's the acronym, grow and see the successes that have come from it. I mean, a lot of members that I connected with our CFS in branch came out just, you should see, I can't even describe it. It was like a weight was lifted off their shoulders, and they had hope again. They saw that they weren't always going to be stuck in this current position. They were able to overcome, and that is exactly why I'm here at Patelco. But back to my personal story, I also had the bright-eyed bushy tail. Oh my gosh, there's hope. And this got me to start thinking about, well, what else can I do? At that time, I was driving a 1998 Toyota Corolla, which was bought with a ginormous dent in the driver's side door, and I just thought, it's a point A to point B type vehicle, and I can drive this till the wheels fall off. But as my credit score started to improve, it got me started thinking I might be able to do something better. And so I went from having a terrible credit score to then driving a brand new car off the lot and being able to finance with Patelco at a low rate. And I will say I did rate shopping because that is part of planning accordingly. And Patelco did have the best rates, lucky enough. And, I was able to pay off my car. I'm still driving that car to this day and starting to think about getting a new one. But, then I'm able to think about the next milestone and, again, be inspired to buy a house, which I already said I was able to do last year with Patelco. And at that time, I was so happy and glad that I was able to speak directly to our mortgage consultants. And I just didn't get that feeling that they were trying to get something from me, that they were looking for their best interest. They took the time to crunch numbers, to ask me, what is your budget for this? And go over every type of loan. At this time, I was a first-time home buyer, but they swayed me against going through the first-time home buyer program because it made better sense for me to do a conventional loan. And that took a couple of days for us to finalize and be able to move forward with that. And I just was so appreciative of that guidance. But now I am in the next stage where I am almost 40 and I need to start thinking about retirement. It's getting more expensive to live, and so I plan myself personally to meet with one of our financial advisors.
Awesome.
Because they can give me a direct path in order to do so. And I also recommended this to many members as well because of the fact that many of our members already have portfolios. They're already fully invested, and they just don't want to move or shift anything. But one thing that I did learn is that our investment advisors can do a double check, if you will, and see if there is any gaps or anything that they can do to maximize their investment status. And I just thought that was so great and different coming from that other institution that I worked for, where that was not the case.
Awesome. So we're talking about plan. We're also talking about short, mid, and long-term goals, but you're suggesting that maybe you've met those 3 goals and maybe you need to come up with new goals as you meet your milestones. And I love that. And I'm so glad you didn't cry because there's no crying in this podcast studio.
It's just so nice to reminisce about, the ways that I've taken advantage, the ways that I've helped my members, especially what Jessica said is we've worked with many members in our 50 years of history aggregately, and we've seen them succeed, and that's what keeps us here.
Yeah, I also didn't know about that relationship between you two, that Jessica is the one that helped you come up with this. We like to refer when we talk about our CFS service in the community as our CFS as being financial accountability partners.
Oh,
and doesn't
100%.
everybody need one of those?
Yes.
We have a
Absolutely.
whole team here at Patelco that can do exactly what Lauren is suggesting, and that's just come in with zero intention, and that's just to talk about whatever your short, your mid, your long-term goals are, and sit with somebody like Lauren, or sit with somebody like Jessica, or sit with somebody myself, because I happen to be a counselor myself, and just talk about what those things are, and then come up with a plan in each of those buckets. And then as we meet milestones, we create new goals. And really, that's the whole theme of the show today, is to just really inspire our listeners to think about what your goals are, put an action plan in place, and then utilize the resources. And we're a great resource
Yes.
to tap
Absolutely.
into, aren't we? So now, Lauren, because of all that, you owe Jessica some Jack in the Box tacos. I think that's what that means. All right, so we talked about a whole lot of things today, a whole lot of those resources. It was the money market account. It was the Roundup savings feature within our online banking app. It's these certified financial specialists, #CFSs. It's our mobile apps and those alerts that we can set up. It's our investment advisors, and the list goes on and on and on. And more information can all be found out about all of those things at patelco.org on our main website. So I would like to thank you so much for you guys sharing your stories and being here with us today as we start this new year and we start to think about our resolutions and all the things that we want for ourselves financially speaking. So thank you again so much for being here. That concludes today's episode of Small Talks for Big Change, where we help simplify financial topics to help with your financial wellness. Happy New Year, everyone. Good luck with those New Year's resolutions, and we'll see you next time. Patelco Credit Union is insured by NCUA.
Thanks, guys, for watching this video. To see more, subscribe or click here to watch the next.